All right, still Saturday morning, 8:30. My first video was part 1. I titled it CBS, ZBS, fictitious broadcasting company, CNN, ABC, FBS. I'm sure you people know what the F means, frickin' broadcasting service. Anyway, you know, many things run through my mind. If I had a YouTube video of the stuff that runs through my mind, I think a lot more people would be educated, because the spur-of-the-moment stuff that just pops into my mind is part of a different kind of collective. I'm not connected to the human race, nor have I ever been. This is why there are certain things in my past that I know beyond any doubt that these things that I talk about are not of this earth. Now, there are a lot of people throughout the planet that I really don't care whether they listen to me or not. I don't care whether they agree or not. They probably don't have the mentality to agree, much less understand. And if they do agree, it's going to be a lot of hard work for them to stay on track, to keep their brain computer online the way it should be online. My life in the last 10 years, being the worst, has been forced into slow, deteriorating health because I don't have a stable place to be at. I mean, doctors were sending their patients to me. This is no lie. Why were they sending their patients to me? Because I knew what I was talking about. My background in biology, my varied backgrounds in naval architecture, in engineering, in quantum physics, in chaos physics. I mean, I don't have a college that I went to. I know. Why would I bother going to Princeton or Yale or any of those garbage colleges? That's what they are, because all they produce is garbage. The same garbage that supports governments. They're hired, the Brookings Institute, the Rand Corporation, they're hired as, these guys are really the smartest people on the planet. Well, you got to find the smartest people off the planet, okay? Because any real smart person doesn't want to be on this planet. It isn't beam me up, Scotty. It's beam me away, as far away from here as possible, because I want nothing to do with you. I could have turned the deserts into Garden of Edens. Instead, the government attacks me because they can't figure me out. They said, no, this guy, we can't trust him. He might do something. If he had ultimate power, oh my God, or we gave him ultimate authority or control of our militaries, he would turn the militaries on us. Yeah, I would, but it wouldn't be for the reasons that they're scared of. It would be for an entirely different reason. So these people really seem to think, well, they live their little lives out in their little tunnel vision path that's been made for them. They don't have free will. Very few people really understand the meaning of free will. When you do achieve free will, like I did a long time ago, I guarantee you, from that day forth, the attacks on you will be steadily worse. You'll have all kinds of, Murphy's Law, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. You've heard all these cliche statements of, there's no such thing as bad luck or good karma, bad karma. There's more than 6 billion philosophical beliefs on the planet, all going in 6 billion different directions. In the movie What the Bleep, Dr. Moto said, well, during the tsunami, people prayed things will get better. Well, why didn't they pray to keep tsunamis from happening? I mean, the apostles were in that boat being tossed on that ocean or the sea, and, oh, Master, save us! And Simon, I think, jumped out of the boat and tried to walk on water and actually managed to. And then he fell under, and Christ had to pull him out and put him in the boat while Christ walked on the water to the boat. And he says, oh, ye of little faith. And he spread his hand across the sky, and the storm, of course, subsided and went to calm. And he was telling them that if you had real faith, you could control the weather too. You could calm that storm. But in actual fact, when you look at the planet Earth from the orbit of Pluto, you're playing around with what I call the everything connected, string theory thing, beyond your comprehension. The Voyager spacecraft turns around, takes a picture of the Earth. It's a tiny little dot. The same size of the dot on the sentence that's explaining what that picture is. So calming a storm when you're looking from Pluto is nothing. The tower doesn't impress me, not from that vantage point. How could it possibly impress me? It's some tiny little nips thing that went bloop, and you can't even hear it. You see, you don't understand the danger that the human race is facing now. If, in fact, there are natural disasters, most of them are created by the collectivity of your minds. The fact that you've got a bad rap sheet, the whole human race. I don't care how much peace you say you represent, whether you're the Dalai Lama or some priest or some well-known Billy Graham, or I don't care who you are or what you teach. You're teaching all the wrong things. You're only teaching minute pieces of the puzzle that you're expecting people to understand on faith alone. And even science isn't enough, because science is confusing too if you watch the movie What the Bleep. But I understand it because I'm able to put those puzzles together and actually make sense of it. But as a teacher, I would have to be paid hundreds of billions of dollars to give humanity the secrets that I know. Because that's what it would take, if not hundreds of trillions of dollars. Because you people took more than that from me. Remember the story of the golden goose? Goose that laid the golden egg? They kept laying it. I say this in one of my other videos, but I repeat it. Kept laying eggs and eggs. The moral to the story is, appreciate what you have and understand what you have. Because you never know what you are connected to until you've lost it completely. Until it has changed itself to a form that you cannot gain any advantage or benefit from any longer. And that's where your big mistakes are. So the goose lays an egg, goose lays another golden egg. They say, this goose, we need more gold. We need more gold. Just like in the movie with Al Gore and the two scales, and earth on this side and the gold on this side. And he says, which would you pick? Well, how can you pick the gold? The gold is worthless without the... And of course the whole audience laughed. Without the earth, what can you do with the gold? It's just sit in space with a bunch of gold bars. So these people get greedy just like that, and they're greedy with the eggs and the eggs. And they say, well, there must that goose must be full of golden eggs. Let's chop its head off and open it up and get all of them. Well, they did that, and of course, the blood, guts, feathers, and goose is dead. Blood all over the place, flesh, bones. No golden eggs. Ah, the moral to the story. If you kill the source, you kill the process. And that's what you did to me. You killed the source by taking my possessions. Oh, a lot of people will say, oh, he had junk and he parked his stuff all over the place. And I had money to pay. I just didn't have enough because, again, society is greedy. And how is this linked up? Chain reaction. The banks expect you to pay them to pay for the property they own. But they don't want the property. They just want to exchange that stupid paper. So it goes on and on and on and on. And the real secret to all of it is that none of you know the real answer, and none of you will. 7,000 years of war that the human race has done, and only less than 300 years of peace worldwide in bits and pieces. Don't you get it? So instead you turn people into homeless, you turn people into vagabonds, you turn people into health issues, because there isn't any real health care. If I was president, and I am a legal candidate, if I had to use the military to force socialized medicine, it would become law immediately. The very same day I take the oath of office, it would be law immediately. Why? Because every person you kill, you're killing another piece of the puzzle. Many bits and pieces, remember, in What the Bleep? You're killing many different possibilities of creating or nurturing that next mental giant that may pop out of nowhere. Remember the movie The X-Men? Every so often, every few generations, that mutation takes a giant leap. How do you think you got all here? You think this was all an accident? Or Darwin? It's bits and pieces of that information, not all of it. Never accept any information that you have or that you get as 100%. There'll always be some little slices of DNA missing, and you have to fill in those spaces with your own intelligence or your own genius to see if you can come up with a different version or a better version. But the government instead lets people like me be destroyed because they are scared crapless. Subconsciously, consciously, they won't admit it, but they are scared to death. And the sad part about all this, I'll just continue to wander because I'll never have a place. You people made it that way. I'll never have a place where I'm no longer threatened. Ever. And that's what you people did to me. You took my cars, my boats, my memoirs, my notes, my evidence of all the atrocities and the civil rights violations that your city of Los Angeles did to me, that your county of Los Angeles did to me over and over and over again, and then you just write it off and give an excuse, well, he's just a wacko, he's just this, he's just that. The sad part about all of this is that when real human intelligence is talking, you don't listen, and you certainly don't heed the advice, and you certainly don't put the advice into practice. And that's your problem. If I cough, it's because, remember I said there are more atoms in one human cell than there are stars in the Milky Way galaxy. When a human being starts getting sick, it starts at the atomic level. So when one cell is compromised, atoms, like electrons, water has memory. Dr. Emoto has pretty much proven that. But if water has memory, water is made of H2O, hydrogen and oxygen. Those have electrons, and electrons that could not be measured going through that double slit, like in the movie What the Bleep. And that means that electrons, possibly one of the many infinite possibilities, has memory. That's why it changes and goes back to the parallel bars instead of the interference bars, the multiple bars of light, which looks like a barcode, by the way, when it's waves, and when it's particles, it shows up as two bars, mimicking the two slits that the electron goes through. But the electron going through the first slit remembers the slit. The electrons going through again, they remember the slits. It's not that they were being watched. They remember the patterns. And they shift their patterns whenever the conditions around them change. There's also another factor which I'm not bringing up because I don't want to give the government that secret, because that's mine. That's connected to the star warp drive engines that I know about and am able to build. That's connected to a number of other things that are tied into the universe that would scare the hell out of all of you. And let me tell you, there is a hell. And it's the knowledge that you find out that's in me. Once you find out the knowledge, and it's not passed through DNA. It's passed through a communication capability that cannot be seen. At the same time, these invisible anomalies interfere and benefit themselves by the energy that is withdrawn back and forth like a ping pong ball, going back and forth, keeping the human race so busy they'll never be able to figure it out. I left some messages at Rampa. Nobody called me because nobody believes it. See, they don't believe. They call it the School of Enlightenment. They have no idea what enlightenment is because you're missing pieces of the puzzle. Puzzles are very big here in the human race. They're not tiny. They're extremely huge. If the universe is as huge as it is, can you imagine how big the puzzle is for the human race? Remember what I said about the human race? The DNA is 3 or 4 feet long. If you glue all 100 trillion cells of the human being, it's a chain of amino acids, you end up going past Pluto. Remember Pluto and the picture of Earth that Voyager took as a dot? A human being's DNA, glued end to end, goes past Pluto another 49,800,000,000 miles long. Now, how big? That's just one human being. You got more than 6 billion. 6 billion people, all each have 6 trillion cells. How far can the human race go? The whole strand of the whole human race go? Let me tell you, the distance is extremely long. It takes about 75 people to complete 1 light year, I believe, according to my figures, and that's give or take quite a few million. That's just a rounded off figure. So you figure that all out and you go, wait a minute. What are we doing screwing people over like Caesar? What are we doing? We should be kicking ourselves for what we frickin' did to this guy, taking his cars, his boats, his motorhomes, not coming to his aid when he sent us faxes, when he told us, please help me. No. You're screwed, and you deserve everything you're going to get. Let me tell you the secret about planet Earth. Now that everybody knows how big the Earth is, and they also know, remember collectivity, the observer, you all as observers know what the other planets are like. Knowledge is dangerous. All the other planets outweigh, in logical probability, the possibility of the Earth becoming just like them, a barrenless, wasteless, lifeless orb. And when I say lifeless, I mean life as we know it. So if you think your Earth is precious, get ready. Because the fact that everybody knows how all the planets are for sure now, the Mars rovers, you know how impossible it would be to really live on any other planets. Earth is coming up next. And you did it. Because you didn't handle it right. Oh, there are some answers. There are some ways out of it, but I'm certainly not going to share them with you. You took my cars, my boats, my motorcycles, my boat. You took everything. In 10 years, you raped me of every possession I had. So screw all of you. Figure it out for yourself, and you won't be in time.